Hi everybody, Luke Film Boss here, and today I'm going to be giving you my list of the top 10 worst movies of 2021. In 10th place is F9, which is the 10th film in the Fast and Furious franchise. This movie I didn't think was bad. I give it a 69%. It's not necessarily bad, but it's definitely not very great. Like, I liked a lot of stuff in this movie, but there's also so much that's just, like, not good about it, that it kind of brings it down to a point where it's almost bad, but not quite, because it's still entertaining, and there's actually some good, like, character and plot structure in there, but overall, it's just kind of a bit of a mess, but it's an entertaining mess, so it's not a bad movie, but it still makes the top 10 worst of the year so far out of the movies I've seen. In 9th place is Godzilla vs. Kong with a 68%. This is another film like F9 where it's not bad. I would say it's a good movie, but it's got so much bad in it amongst the good that it just like bogs it down to a point where it's not a very well-made film. It doesn't have a lot of quality aspects, and so it just makes this list because there wasn't an enormous amount of bad films that I saw this year. Although I'm sure that there were films that I didn't see that would have made the list. But out of the movies I've seen, Godzilla vs. Kong is a fun, dumb, good time. But it just makes this list. In 8th place is Marvel's The Eternals with a 64%. This is the first film on this list that I would say qualifies as a bad film amongst like my rating system. And the funny thing is that this movie I'd say is one of the most well-made films of the year. It's definitely the most well-made Marvel film of the year. Its quality is very good. Like the plot, the dialogue, the characters, the special effects, the cinematography, it's all really good. Like, people were saying at the beginning of the year, like, because of the director, Chloe Zhao, or whatever, being like an Oscar nominee in the past, that this was going to be like an Oscar contender. It's not that good, but you can definitely see that she's a very talented filmmaker, and that shows in this. And she breaks out of the Marvel formula, which is exactly what I wanted. Like, I wanted something new and unique and fresh. Like, for me, that's not why I didn't like the film. I loved those aspects of it where this film was taking a lot of risks. But there's just something about this film. It's one of my least favorite films of the year, although I'd say it's one of the best made. For me, it just didn't connect. Some of the characters I got really invested in. I understood where they were coming from. I actually felt for them. Other characters, like, I just wish they weren't even in the movie. And that actually rarely happens in any movies that Marvel or DC has come out with. Even if I don't think the movie is that good, I typically don't mind the characters. There were some characters that I just wish weren't in this movie. I'd say I enjoyed the majority of them, but some of them just didn't really add anything, or they were just underused. And I think that's another big problem with this movie, is there's so many characters that some of them get underused, although I think that they do balance it out very well. Most of them get some good time to shine, but it's just a film that I personally couldn't really get involved with. Some of the plot details just made me wonder about this film. So it makes it onto my top 10 worst films of the year. In 7th place is Space Jam 2: A New Legacy with a 55%. This movie is not very good, but I actually enjoyed this film. Similar to the first Space Jam, I did not think that was a very well made film. Outside of the special effects were very good for the time, and so are the special effects in this sequel. But it's just a movie that I enjoyed. I even, like, somehow they got me to be interested in the relationship between fictional LeBron James and his son. And then the Looney Tunes, while I thought some of the jokes just didn't land, a lot of it was actually, like, really fun. Like Lola Bunny being part of the Amazons. Like, there's a lot of creative stuff in here. It's not very well put together in terms of the plot, but it's a fun film. But it's not good. In 6th place is Tom and Jerry with a 50%. This is a film that when I first watched it, I thought it was fine. I thought it was fun kid entertainment. And that was kind of the problem, is it was way too childish to the point that when I thought about it, it's really not that good because it needs to be something that the whole family can enjoy. And I feel like this movie wasn't that. Like, I was looking at this through, like, okay, maybe a kid would find some of the stuff to be funny, but, like, some of it just got really stupid at times. There's still some stuff to enjoy, but it's really just not a very well-made movie. In 5th place is Old from M. Night Shyamalan with a 46%. I love M. Night Shyamalan films. He's one of my favorite, if not my favorite director, but he does miss the ball sometimes. And with Old, he really missed the ball. This movie had some interesting ideas, but the execution is just so silly. Like, the characters are honestly really stupid at times, and there's so many plot holes that just, like, don't make sense. This, not a very good film. Once again, it had some interesting ideas, and it had a decent conclusion, but it's not nearly anything close to what M. Night has given us in the past, and that's really disappointing. In 4th place, with a 45%, is Black Widow, one of Marvel's biggest duds to date. Black Widow is very inconsistent with its plot. So many of the characters are just very poorly written, and the tone, like, starts off one way and then completely changes throughout the movie. This movie retcons everything that we loved about Natasha Romanoff. I've said most of this stuff before. I just really did not like Black Widow. I thought it was very lazily written. The action was honestly generic and boring and not very practical in terms of what's going on in the plot. And that third act is just a whole bunch of, honestly, stupidity with the villains, the heroes, the whole action scenes. It's all just a mess. In 3rd place is Chaos Walking with a 43%. This movie is another one like Old, where it has some interesting ideas, and it actually pulls off those ideas better in the plot. It doesn't have as many inconsistencies and plot holes, but it just doesn't do anything to really get you invested with these characters, which is something that Old actually did better, even if the characters acted like idiots. Chaos Walking just has such a generic feel to it, both in the characters and the plot. Everything that goes on is very forgettable, and it just, like, you don't really care about the characters. At least I didn't, and so that's why it makes it this low on my list. Well, high, technically, but high as in it's low. In 2nd place is Mortal Kombat with a 40%. This is one of those movies that I guess is just for the fans, because I really found very little actual enjoyment. Like, there's some good action scenes, but, like, because I didn't get invested in any of the characters, it really just feels like random moving objects. Like, it's good to watch, like, one time, or maybe if you want to, like, go back and re-watch the action scenes without watching the rest of the movie, because it takes way too long to get to the action, and, like, you don't really care about the action when you get there in terms of, like, the plot. Like, as a distraction to entertain you if you're, like, just getting bored, yeah, go watch this movie, I guess. It's really way too long for way too little actual, like, substance and character development. It's not that good. A lot of people disagree with me, saying it's just fun and dumb. That's what Godzilla vs. Kong was, and that movie did it much better. But in 1st place is Home Sweet Home Alone. What a disastrous film. I give this film a 5%. This movie is so incompetently stupid. It's like the Black Widow of the Home Alone franchise, only the Home Alone franchise never had quite as high of a high as the Marvel Universe did. And yeah, it's really trashy. This movie acknowledges the fact that it's trash in its own runtime. Like, a character literally acknowledges the fact that this movie is not as good as the original. How stupid can the filmmakers and Disney be? They just want to pump this stuff out because they know people are going to watch it on Disney Plus and it's going to make them money. So they put the brand name on there and they don't put any effort into these movies. I honestly hate movies like this. Now, some of the writing, I guess you could say the writers were trying, but it's very lazy trying. Like, obviously they took some ideas and put them together. They had to work it out. It's not like this is an inconsistent movie, but it's just very stupid. It doesn't have any like real stakes or tension, whereas in the first Home Alone movie there was actually real stakes. Like I remember watching Home Alone the first one for the first time, and I actually like was afraid that Kevin was like gonna get harmed by these robber guys. And in this movie you don't have any of that because the robber people aren't even really robbers. They're not bad. They're actually like the main characters. I don't know what were they trying to do with this film. It is awful. I have a whole review where I ramble on and joke about how dumb this movie is. It is very dumb. Maybe you can go check that out. I don't think anything revolving around this movie is worth your time. Even my video, I'm sorry, I just did it for laughs. Home Sweet Home Alone is awful, and it definitely takes the #1 spot for worst movies of 2021. Thanks everybody for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help you be on the lookout for more videos from Luke Film Boss. Bye.